All right, here we go. It's a brand new Flyers Daily for the 5th of November, 2023. Flyers coming off a not good loss. 5-0 against the Los Angeles Kings. Kings came into the game 5-0 on the road this season, and they came in and they beat the Flyers 5-0 to go 6-0 on the road. Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. I'd love to tell you about the Penn Medicine Assist. Because we made some contributions to the local communities in need of food, but the Flyers didn't score any goals. But the Flyers are teaming up with Penn Medicine for the Penn Medicine Assist. For every Flyers assist this season, Penn Medicine and the Flyers are donating 30 pounds of food to local communities in need. Just didn't get any of them last night. Here's hoping that they do so on Tuesday in San Jose, when they begin a 4-game road trip. San Jose, Anaheim, LA, Carolina, then back at the Wells Fargo Center on the 18th against the Vegas Golden Knights. Flyers get outshot in the game 30-24. They out-hit LA 20-11. The Flyers took 5 penalties. LA took 4 in the game. And some interesting storylines to come out of this one. Still no Sean Couturier, no Carter Hart. Lineup was the same with the exception that Cal Peterson came in and started his first game for the Flyers against his former team and did not fare well. Scoring was opened in the first period, 14:32 in, when Adrian Kempe was able to get a stick on a puck that was kind of bouncing towards the Flyer net, but he was able to get a little bit of positioning on Cam York and deflect it by Cal Peterson. Tough one for Peterson, bouncing puck, and it's kind of a weird play. But then just 18 seconds later, Anze Kopitar picked up his 6th goal of the season, giving the LA Kings the 2-0 lead, a high deflection after it looked like that Noah Cates kind of blew a tire going into the corner, just above the corner in the Flyers D zone, lost his footing before any contact, and the puck kind of turned over, and it ends up back at the point. Matthew Raw makes the shot, and Kopitar deflects it high, puts it in by Cal Peterson. Both goals, not the fault of Cal Peterson. 2 tough goals, certainly a high deflection, very difficult. And the one before that, Cam York got a little out-muscled on his way to the net, and Kempe, a veteran, was able to get a stick on it. But the Flyers go into the break down 2-0. Pick it up in the second period. Arthur Kaliev picks up his 3rd on the power play. That gives LA the 3-0 lead. And then at 19:44, a goal that Trevor Moore scores that, very late in the period, just 16 seconds left, and that can't go in, especially in that spot. It looked like Cal Peterson just certainly did not take up enough net on the short side late in that period. It was a good shot by Moore. He shoots it through the legs of Travis Sanheim, and it beats Cal Peterson high blocker. What normally would be high glove for a goaltender with his left hand, but he actually, the blocker is on his left hand, and it just beats him because he's just not covering nearly enough of the short side of the ice. And I think when he looks back at that one, he's going to really question his positioning on it. There wasn't a threat coming down the other side of the ice, and he just was not to the short side nearly enough. You never want to get beat as a goalie on the short side. That's the fastest route for the puck to the back of the net, obviously, shortest distance. And that's a backbreaker. And there's a play before that where Cam York threw a pass kind of into some traffic late in the period. And something John Tortorella talks about quite a bit is situational hockey. And it just wasn't a good situational play with the winding down seconds in a 3-0 game in the second period. Cam York wouldn't see a shift the rest of the game. In the third period, 6:32 in, Brake Lizotte picked up the goal, 5-0 for the LA Kings. And like I said, Cam York didn't play a single shift in the third period. Here were the minutes and how they were distributed in the game, how they were allocated after that, because York played just over 15 minutes. He's a top pairing defenseman with Travis Sanheim. And the last 2 games prior to this game, York actually played slightly more minutes or more time on ice than Travis Sanheim. But in this game, York played 15:45 on 21 shifts, 2:22 on the power play, 3:55 shorthanded, only 9:28 at even strength. So he only played 15 minutes and 45 seconds. Zamula played less at 14:21. Belpedio played 13:24. Travis Sanheim picked up the extra minutes. He played 29 minutes and 14 seconds. He actually had more ice time in the game than Drew Doughty, who leads the NHL. Doughty played 24-41. Sanheim, just under 30 minutes. Nick Seeler picked up some extra minutes, 18-48, as did Sean Walker, who played 20-48. But Cam York, I think the reasoning behind why John Tortorella decided not to play him in the third period, I imagine he's not liking the first goal, where Cam York kind of gets outcompeted a little bit for that loose puck as it's kind of bouncing in towards Cal Peterson. And then Kempe gets the stick on it. And then, the second goal is 18 seconds later, and that kind of, Cam York kind of misses a clearing attempt there. And then that fourth goal, where the situational turnover in the neutral zone leads it to go the other way and eventually gets the goal, albeit one that Cal Peterson should have made a save on. So John Tortorella decides to sit his young defenseman down. And we talked to Torts on Hockey and Hounds, I think it was 2 weeks ago. And I asked him about, is there a killer in there in Cam York? And he said, I think there is, but if there's not, he'll be an average player. And it's one of the big tasks of John Tortorella when you're in this stage of a rebuild, is getting players to recognize that at the professional level, you've got to be that guy every night. Because when you're not, your team pays for it. You pay for it. Not being hard enough on that puck for the Kempe goal that opened the scoring, you got to be hard on those pucks. And John Tortorella is teaching his young defenseman a lesson that you got to be hard on that. Look, you can't control bounces in the game, and there's going to be mistakes, and those things are fine. They will happen. Hockey is a game of mistakes, and you can't control that. Sometimes the puck will bounce weird off your leg, off a foot, off the, a notch in the boards or the glass, or whatever. Those things will happen, or you'll make a mistake trying to make a play. But on plays where you just need to play hard and play through them, that's what you can't control at all times. And I think that's the lesson he's trying to teach Cam York here. Now, Cam York's not the first guy to get benched for a period. He's not going to be the last guy that gets benched for a period. And when I was kind of going through this on the postgame show with Brian Smith, it took me right back to October 23rd of last season. Now, October 23rd of last season, Flyers were off to a good start. They came into that game 4-1. Good start to the season. And they were facing a 1-6 San Jose Sharks team, kind of like what they'll be going into this week. And in that San Jose game, Flyers got down 3-0 going into the third period. And John Tortorella opted in a 3-0 game against a bad opponent to not play his top two forwards. Who were they? They were Travis Konecny and Kevin Hayes. In that game, Travis Konecny only played 12 minutes and 25 seconds of ice time on 16 shifts. Kevin Hayes played 11 minutes and 22 seconds. And it wasn't because they weren't good players or they couldn't help them that night. It was more about letting those guys understand that there is a level, a standard of competing. Now, both of those players probably handled the situation totally different. I will tell you, one of those players, still with the Flyers, went into John Tortorella and wanted to talk about why he was benched. No, the other one didn't, Kevin Hayes. And that's nothing against Kevin Hayes. Sometimes that happens to players, and they storm into the coach's office kicking and screaming. Others go in and want understanding. Some players just internalize it and deal with it and move on. But that was a lesson to those two players that no matter what the opponent, no matter what the situation, if the standard of competing is not at a high enough level, you, just like everybody else that will put on a jersey for this team, is held to that standard. And if you don't perform to it, then you will not get ice time. You will be benched. And when the Flyers benched Travis Konecny and Kevin Hayes on October 23rd against the San Jose Sharks in a 3-0 game, that is very telling. Now, you couple that within that game, the fact that James Van Riemsdyk only played 5 shifts for the Flyers and 3:29 of ice. He got hurt. I think that's when he hurt his hand. So you were already down a forward, and you still benched Travis Konecny and Kevin Hayes in that game. It was even more pronounced because of that. You're basically playing 9 forwards at that point. the entirety of the third period. And look, obviously, lesson learned for Travis Konecny. He wasn't benched the remainder of the season and went on to flourish and have his best career as a professional with 31 goals, more than a point per game player. And that's the hope, obviously, with Cam York, is players when they come into the professional rank, some of them, it's just innate. They're just going to be hard grinding competitors at all times. Some players, you have to make them realize that that's what you have to do. And I think that's part of the equation here with Cam York. Now, Cam's a very, he's a hard player to judge from an eye test to effort standpoint. Some players you see play and the way they play, they're flying all over the place, diving and jumping into things and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes we confuse that for effort. And we confuse players that are very smooth and under control and think that that's a lack of effort because it's so flawless in motion. It's not the case. But in this situation, I think John Tortorella is using this as a teaching moment to Cam York. I'm sure he wasn't happy he didn't play in the third period, but using this as a teaching moment that saying, I need you to compete harder every night. And I'm going to hold you to that standard. And the ultimate hammer I hold over you is the ice time hammer. And you're our top pairing guy. I'm going to hold you to a high standard of being a top pairing guy. He was a -3 in the game, was Cam York. Travis Konecny was a -4. So it wasn't about result. It was about competing. So I think that's the big lesson that was trying to be taught by benching Cam York in the third period. Is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world to bench a guy. You can't go, well, geez, we thought Cam York was going to be one of the future stars of this blue line. He got benched in the third period. Guess he's not that. No. Look at Travis Konecny as a prime example. He was the best player on the Flyers last season. On October 23rd, just 7 games into the season, he got benched for an entirety of a third period in a 3-0 game. So it's not about that. It's about teaching the level of compete and that no one is immune. Matter of fact, as I was doing the post-game show for the game last night, I saw this tweet come over from Aaron Portzline, who covers the Columbus Blue Jackets. He said, Columbus Blue Jackets coach Pascal Vincent on Johnny Gaudreau, who was benched for the final 16-plus minutes of the third period in a 2-1 loss to the Capitals. Vincent said, I'm coaching a team, the guys who are going to play. Everything is earned. When the game starts, it's not about your name. It's about what's on the front of your jersey and who we believe are going to give us a chance to win. We know Johnny Gaudreau can make a difference when he's skating and he's involved. And tonight, I felt he wasn't there. I mean, that's the high-priced free agent. You have to hold everybody to a standard. Doesn't matter if it's the high-priced free agent, your best player. Last year, Travis Konecny and Kevin Hayes obviously was a big, personality and a big presence for the Flyers team. Doesn't matter. You got to play to that high level of compete and that standard, no matter who you are, or you find yourself on the bench for a third period, or Kevin Hayes found out he was scratched. So we'll see how Cam York now responds. The only thing that matters now is the response of the player. They'll get a chance coming up in San Jose on Tuesday against a team that is not very good. Flyers took it on the chin in that 5-0 game. I think there's some clips to be shown to use as teaching moments, in particular about level of compete and situational awareness. But how Cam York responds is all that matters going forward. And we'll see how that plays out. Again, not the first high-level player to get benched in the NHL for a period. Certainly not. Not going to be the last. All right, that's this edition of Flyers Daily. We'll be back tomorrow with a Mondays with Meltzer edition. So join us then for a brand new Flyers Daily.